everybody, and welcome back to the Pache Ibene channel. Today's guest is Miss Roberta Opara, and I am so happy to have her here with us today. Roberta is an attorney and Kingian Nonviolence trainer, as well as a professor at the University of Rhode Island. She has taught peace and nonviolence classes, as well to both graduate and undergraduate students. Roberta, thank you so much for being here today.
It's my absolute pleasure, Rosie. Thank you for having me. Thank you to Pache Ibene for organizing everything that it does, all the programs, and of course for this opportunity to be part of today's share and today's chat with you, Rosie. Thank you so much for all you do.
Oh, thank you. And Roberta, one thing that I think is amazing is that you are a level 2 trainer in Kingian Nonviolence. I would like to know what inspired you to study Kingian Nonviolence and then go on to become a nonviolence trainer.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Rosie. I do feel wonderful by the very generous introduction you made, and I'm thanking you very kindly for that. It seems the pathway to Kingian nonviolence was inevitable for me. Weaving the pathway, if I could just share a brief overview, I grew up in an emotionally intelligent home in Nigeria in the Southeast. And my father, the late Ralph Opara, a communicator himself, um, raised us to or trained us to understand the nuances of not just government because he was in broadcasting and we grew up experiencing dictatorship before we transitioned to a democracy. But he helped us understand the nuances in what goes into making um, good government policies, understanding of what has to happen, understanding of broadcasting and communication terms, but also understanding of how we resolve conflict in the home. My mom, Francesca Ralph Opara, was, when I look back, she was a community organizer herself. She helped women in our local rural village to learn a trade, to be able to support their families, to help support the income that their husbands were bringing in so that they could support their kids. So it was inevitable to trace the opportunity to study law and its practice in different countries in Africa, to come here to the US, to also expand my education exposure and research interests, to find my way not only to the URI, University of Rhode Island campus, where I was studying with the Harrington School of Communication and Media, but also through the doorway of the URI Center for Nonviolence and Peace Studies and the trainers, Paul and Kay Bueno de Mesquita, who introduced Kingian nonviolence, its terms, the philosophy of Dr. King, the principles and the steps that really, really resonated with me and sort of married the journey of law that I had been on, meshed it with communications, which is a passion in my blood, with the understanding that to build a beloved community, whether here in the US, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Ghana, wherever all these countries that might have suffered a difficult past are trying to transition to a better and brighter future, that we can reflect and resonate those principles wherever we find ourselves. So I found myself on the beautiful campus of the URI and in great company with Paul and Kay, Tupton, Kazu, and of course, Dr. Bernard Lafayette, who himself was beside Dr. King, the night before the unfortunate incident and the unfortunate assassination and the loss of a great hero of the world and the US in particular. So to continue in that legacy, to learn more and to train under these wonderful people has been quite the privilege. And to be given the further privilege of sharing some of those principles in the classroom, on the URI, or across the training platforms, even virtually now, has been quite the privilege.
That's amazing, Roberta. Thank you so much for sharing.
My pleasure.
Thank you. I also think that it is amazing that you're a lawyer because my dad was actually a lawyer before. Now he's a teacher, but he was a lawyer in Texas for many years. And I was wondering, how do you integrate nonviolence into your practice of the law?
Wow, Rosie, thank you. That's amazing. And synchronous. Maybe your dad and I have to chat because it's amazing that transition from law to education, which I understand that he's in. So that's wonderful. He, like most lawyers and many lawyers, have a heart for the people because we go into law seeking to remedy the wrong, right? We seek justice. We seek, social upliftment, fairness, advocacy, equity. These are the virtues that push us, certain personalities, into studying law. So it was inevitable for me too, because in law, as you know, it can be a lot of litigation. In the early days as a child, I was very inspired by members on both sides of my family, maternal and paternal side. Uh, an uncle of whom I'm named after, he's Robert, and he was recognized as a senior advocate of Nigeria. An aunt who decided to pursue personnel and administration as a lawyer. So just drawing in from their own experiences, what I saw them do and admired, led me to take on law as the medium through which to advocate, through which to spread love, through which to help people reconcile. So in navigating through the litigation difficulties and challenges that we get to know about, and which is of course necessary in the movement of the judicial wheels, I sought a path of reconciliation and mediation. So at the time, I was very opportune to also be mentored by a partner in a firm who herself was going to set up her own practice and look towards mediation and reconciliation counseling. And that started the journey of, okay, why don't I also look to that? Since I'm looking to bring parties together to understand the issue, but most of all, to restore the relationship. With litigation, it's sometimes harder to really, really restore the relationship, although the issues might be sorted out and justice might be met. But I was looking for a pathway that could bring the parties and the issues together with a common understanding. And nonviolence has been part of that pathway, and part of the tool for mediation, part of the tools in nonviolence communication that I've been privileged to integrate now in my career now as an educator, as a trainer, and hopefully in what I do in the future in the legal sphere.
Wow, that's so amazing, Roberta. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie.
Yes. And my last question is, you've studied nonviolence so much, and so I'm sure you're going to have an amazing answer for this, is what does nonviolence mean to you?
Hmm. Well, apart from the privilege of helping us build a beloved community, which is the dream we all have as individuals and families, as citizens, and of course the dream that Dr. King held for the longest time for all of humanity, I consider nonviolence a means of advocacy with decorum. We can advocate for the issues that are most important to us. We can advocate with passion. We can advocate for justice, but we can decide to honor the individual person on the opposite side of the issue or the concern or the policy that we're working and fighting against. We can advocate without instigating. We can imbue respect. We can give power to the person that we may disagree with, looking to a future of love and reconciliation. So I see nonviolence as helping me advocate with decorum, with respect, to give as much as I want to get, and to re-enfranchise people instead of disenfranchising them. And it is possible, which is the hope that we have, that with more people learning and being exposed to nonviolence, its principles and steps, and of course, the philosophy of Dr. King, who himself was influenced by Gandhi, amongst others, that we can make traction, we can make a path easier, more bearable, more doable towards reconciliation and, of course, love, which is the ultimate goal that we all seek in this world. So, justice, truth, fairness, love are all possible together, and we can do it with nonviolence.
Yes, thank you, Roberta, and thank you for all of the wonderful work that you do in your law practice at at the University of Rhode Island. I'm just so grateful for you and thankful that you were willing to do this interview. Thank you so much.
I cannot express my thanks enough, Rosie, for just how you've been, your wonderful work you do, how you've gone above and beyond to make sure that everything was all set for us to be able to chat. And I also want to extend my great, great thanks to Ryan and Veronica as well, and all the wonderful work they do. Thank you very much for having me today, Rosie, and it's been a wonderful pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.